Hey, this is Rick Caselge, injury specialist from ExercisesForInjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through what to do about hip pain at night. And I'll get Andrea to demonstrate the first thing that you can end up doing if you end up having hip pain at night. So there you go. What Andrea is doing is she's addressing tension in one of the muscles in the hip area. So what I find when it comes to hip pain and hip pain at night, throughout the day as we end up moving and doing things, the tension ends up building up in the muscles around the hip. And then that tension, pulling on that hip, ends up leading to hip pain, and then going to sleep ends up making that hip pain even worse. So what you need to do is decrease that tension in the muscles around the hip. So Andrea ended up doing the hamstring. So what she ended up using, you can end up using a ball. This ends up kind of being a medicine ball, a rubberized medicine ball, but you can end up utilizing a basketball, a soccer ball, any type of ball that you end up having. Now, the firmer the ball or the smaller the ball and dense like this, the more intense it'll end up being. This one isn't bad because it's quite large and broad, so it ends up covering a large part of the muscle. As you end up getting more dense and smaller, it hits on smaller points of the muscle, which end up being more sensitive, which ends up being good. But to start off with, go with like a wider ball like this, basketball, soccer ball. So that ends up being the hamstring. Now, we just don't want to focus on just that one area. We're going to end up moving over to the IT band, so the outer part of the hip, which oftentimes is kind of like a surprising area that ends up being tight in people or sensitive in people. So there you go. Andrea goes just from below the hip to just above the knee. We ideally don't want to go through the joint when it comes to the kind of addressing tension. And she's going to go up and down on the ball and looking at 5 repetitions each way, so a total of 10. And you're looking for a little bit of sensitivity because that means we're really addressing the tension. So we've gone from the hamstrings, the IT band, then we're going to move over and work on the front part of the hip. So we're looking at working that quadriceps, so the thigh muscles, and maybe Andrea will get you to go on the other side. Maybe, yeah, there, we'll go on the left side. Okay, good. So just like the hamstring one, you're looking at just above the knee, up to just below the hip. You're working through the whole broad part of that muscle, up and down 5 times, so a total of 10. You're looking for light sensitivity. So more of your body weight you put through it, the deeper that tension relieving feeling will end up having. Now the fourth one ends up being adductors, so inner thigh work, and oftentimes this ends up being ignored. So Andrea is going to lie on her stomach. She has the ball just on the inside of her knee, and then she's just going to roll that ball towards the midline and then come back out. And same thing, 5 repetitions, so there and back, total of 10, decreasing the tension in that inner part of the thigh when it relates to pulling on that hip area. So that ends up being the first thing that you want to do when it comes to if you have hip pain sleeping, is to address the tension in the muscles all around the hip. Now, other things that you can end up doing is look at changing your sleeping position. So Andrea will get you to lie on your side. I know a lot of times what my clients say is with sleeping on the side ends up bothering them. And you can see with Andrea, a lot of times where all your weight ends up being is on your hip. So if you end up having hip pain, just the lying on your side ends up making it worse. So if you change your position from the side to lying on your back, that ends up decreasing the stress on that hip joint. Now, I know sometimes it's difficult to change positions if you're always like a side sleeper, or if you're if you're always a side sleeper, you can sleep on the other side, or you can move on your back. Other options are, I'll get you back on your side facing that way, Andrea, is you can end up utilizing pillows. So you can end up putting pillows underneath your hip to kind of elevate it so there's something soft. You can end up putting pillows like underneath the curve in your back, so you end up having support because a lot of times with the gap being there, the pelvis will tilt down. That puts more pressure on that on the hip. Now, if we put something underneath here, it puts the pelvis in a better position, so there's less stress on that pelvis and hip area. So you can put pillows here, underneath the hip, and even up underneath the thigh in order to take up some of the weight of the lower body, so there's less pressure happening in that hip joint, leading to hip pain. Now, a last option ends up being looking at your mattress, adding some sort of memory foam topper. That tends to work really well. I find that ends up helping a lot of clients when it relates to hip pain lying on their side. Getting a foam topper you can get at any major department store, adding that, then also looking at the pillow options, changing your position, but make sure they end up addressing the tension in those muscles all over the hip. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video and you have hip pain, then what I recommend for you to do is click right here. I have a free new report for you called 5 Tricks That Help Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Just click right here, let me know where to send it, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you're watching this video on a mobile device like a tablet or smartphone, head down below into the description and click the first link, which will end up being exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send you that report, and I'll send it to you right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like it. If you have a question for me or another video idea for me, just head down below into the comment section and let me know. Leave me that question or a comment. And before you leave, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you end up getting future pain relieving videos.